Welcome back to the latest video on my channel. In today's episode, I am going to discuss about Connie Francis has been reunited with lost love letters she wrote to Bobby Darin in the 1950s, thanks to a fan who returned them after winning them at auction. The letters reveal a romance once silenced by her strict father. Before I begin, I kindly ask for your support. If this video or their legacy has touched your life, please give it a like and subscribe the channel as a sign of respect. Thank you. Exclusive. 60s pop singer Connie Francis shares long-lost letters she exchanged with the great love of her life, Bobby Darin, and laments how her cruel father prevented her from marrying him. Connie Francis was a top-charting vocalist with hits like Who's Sorry Now, Stupid Cupid, and Where the Boys Are. She penned a series of heartfelt love letters to the love of her life, Mac the Knife singer Bobby Darin, in the 1950s. Darin's half-brother held on to the letters after Darin died, but recently decided to auction them off on eBay. After Francis lost the bidding for the letters, the woman who won decided to give them to the 77-year-old vocalist. For the first time ever, Francis is sharing some of the letters with DailyMail.com. More than half a century after actress and singer Connie Francis penned a series of heartfelt love letters to the love of her life, Bobby Darin, those letters are back in her hands, thanks to a generous Darin fan who felt they belonged with the star. And for the first time ever, the still glamorous singer is sharing some of those letters with DailyMail.com. The moment I heard the letters had gone up for auction, I knew I had to do whatever it took to get them back. Francis, now 77, told DailyMail.com exclusively. Connie Francis penned a series of heartfelt love letters to the love of her life, Bobby Darin, in the 1950s. I'd kept all Bobby's letters, and I desperately wanted the ones I wrote him to come back to me, she added. Francis's love letters to Darin were written over a 4-month period in 1956, and after Darin's death in 1973, following open heart surgery, the letters fell into the hands of his half-brother, Gary Walden, who held on to them until now. Walden, now 60, recently decided to sell some of his late brother's memorabilia, including the 18 letters between Francis and Darin. A friend let me know the letters were for sale on eBay, and I immediately began to bid, says Francis. But the bids kept going up, and when I had to leave home for an appointment that day, I left instructions with my assistant that no matter how high the bid got, keep bidding. But unbeknownst to the 77-year-old singer, famous for such hits as Who's Sorry Now, Stupid Cupid, and Where the Boys Are, a die-hard Darin fan had a deal with the auction site to always have the final bid on anything Bobby Darin, and she ended up outbidding Francis with her $1,000 bid. I was heartbroken when I found out I lost my letters, says Francis, and I knew I had to do whatever I could to try and buy them back no matter what the price. So I phoned eBay personally and asked for their help. They were very kind, offering to put me in touch with the woman who bought them. Francis says that a few days later, Laura Rice, a Virginia woman, got in contact with her and agreed to sell the letters to her. But on reflection, the woman decided she didn't want money for the correspondence and would be willing to just hand them over. The two fell madly in love but were kept apart by Francis's super strict Italian father, George, who insisted she concentrate on her career and not date. I was thrilled and so touched to think this woman, who was such a major Darin fan, was willing to part with the letters at no cost to me, says Francis, and I thanked her over and over again. Connie Francis and Bobby Darin met in 1956 when Connie was an up-and-coming singer and Bobby a struggling songwriter. The T fell madly in love but were kept apart by Francis's super strict Italian father, George, who insisted she concentrate on her career and not date. When it later got back to George that Francis and Darin were still in touch and that Darin was trying to convince his 18-year-old girlfriend to elope with him, an angry George chased him away with a gun, insisting he never darken their door again. To this day, Francis insists the greatest mistake she ever made was not running off and marrying the Mac the Knife singer. Bobby was my greatest love, she confessed. Francis says that reading the letters was bittersweet, and it's taken her on a memorable journey that was a huge part of her past. Holding the letters again, Francis says the memories are bittersweet. It felt like reliving my past, she says, proof that some loves never fade,